everyone. Today I thought it might be an interesting idea to take a look at the 2024 GOP primary field, how it's shaping up, and analyze whether any of these candidates really have a shot to beat the clear current frontrunner, former President Trump. Now, I took this list from candidates who have already declared, candidates who have publicly expressed interest, and those who the media has been creating a lot of buzz about. And of course, this tier list is just for fun. So if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd love to know your take on these candidates. But this list is completely randomized. So let's get started with this man, former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton. This is going straight in the WTF pile. I have no idea why anyone would vote for this man in the Republican Party. He has absolutely zero charisma. He's known as kind of an establishment foreign policy blog, PC insider. And the only people he really appeals to are people who have read his anti-Trump book and people who really like foreign policy, I guess. But he's vocally anti-Trump. That's not going to fly with the Republican base. I don't even know why he would run. I don't know what he would get. Absolutely WTF. Next, we have Texas Governor Greg Abbott. I'm going to put him in the maybe competitive pile. I don't think he's actually going to run, but I think he would be competitive if he ran, just because he's been elected 3 times in a row to the governorship of Texas and has some buzz nationwide about his stance regarding immigration and the border. So I think the Republican base would genuinely like Greg Abbott, but Abbott's going to fall into the same issue that all of these other candidates are going to fall into, which is how do you differentiate yourself in this field? If you go too far anti-Trump, the base is not going to vote for you. But if you're too pro-Trump, why wouldn't they just vote for Trump? That's why I think he ultimately won't run, because I think he sympathizes with Trump's aims, but knows that this isn't the right time. I could see a 2028 run for him maybe, but I think he would be solidly competitive, more competitive than most candidates if he ran, but he's not really going to run. Next is Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. This is more in the compares territory. I guess people kind of know him, people who are super invested into conservative media, but I don't think the public at large really knows who he is. He probably will be attacked if he rises in the polls at all, which I don't think he will, but let's just assume that he rises in the polls. He's going to be attacked hard for vetoing that piece of legislation that banned gender transition care for minors in Arkansas. And vetoing that essentially made his presidential hopes over, because the base is not going to like that at all. And it's a very viable method of attack. Again, same problem. I don't really know how he'll differentiate himself. No one knows who he is. Next, we got former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. And this is, I'm going to put him in the WTF file because I don't really understand this. So he was a super early Trump actor back in 2016, head of Trump's transition planning team. Ultimately, Trump didn't actually give him any cabinet position and kind of stabbed him in the back in that way. And then he's recently just been on the anti-Trump speaking circuit in mainstream media, published an anti-Trump book that really didn't sell very many copies at all. And so I just don't know why anyone would vote for him. He's about 12 years too late. There was a lot of buzz of him back in 2012, and I think he would have been a strong candidate against President Obama, but he just has no appeal today, and I don't even know why he would run. He already has a book deal. He already has media appearances. So I don't know. I don't really think it would work out very well for him. Next is New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. This is another one where it's like, I'm going to put him in the compares tier instead of the WTF tier because he is a sitting governor. So clearly he has political experience. But firstly, he's pro-choice. That's a non-starter. Secondly, he's kind of waffled. Sometimes he's been pro-Trump. Sometimes he's been anti-Trump. But yeah, I don't really see him getting over the pro-choice hump in a primary. And I don't really know what case he would have. Next, we go on to former President Trump. Definitely the front runner, actually competitive, almost certainly going to win the nomination, routinely getting over 50, 60% in nationwide primary polls as it stands. He really is the man to beat, definitely in this tier. Next is North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. So I've never heard anything about this man ever. I have no idea why he would run. I don't know who would vote for him. I don't know what his case would be or why he's different from any other Republican. It's just completely inexplicable to me. Like, if he does run, I just don't get it at all. Next, let's look at Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. Now, this is someone who I don't think is going to run, but he would probably be somewhat competitive. And that's just because he's kind of well known and liked amongst both mainstream and conservative media for being a kind of softer, gentler face of MAGA politics. He definitely does agree with a lot of what the MAGA or Trump or general Republican base does, but he's been able to have some crossover appeal to the suburban wing of the party, which is rapidly diminishing and switching over to Democrats. So I think Glenn Youngkin could be competitive. I don't think he's going to run though, because he probably sees that there's no point. He'd rather just probably wait till 2028 when he's done being Virginia governor. He can run on track record, he can have a stronger case when Trump is no longer going to be someone who's viable for the party. And I think he'll have more success there. I think he'd be somewhat competitive if he ran up, but he probably won't. Next is South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. I'm also going to put her in the maybe competitive tier because she is a female Republican governor and is very well known and liked amongst the conservative base for her anti-mask activism and anti-COVID lockdown politics. That was a big hit with the base. I don't think she'll run, or if she runs, she's probably going to be explicitly running to be VP, really. And I think she will be on that short list for VP. But I think that she would be competitive just because she can speak to the policies during COVID, which may appeal to a lot of Republican voters. Next, we have radio host Larry Elder. I'm going to put him in the not really running for president here because the only reason I can think of that he's running is that he tried to run in the 2021 California governor's recall, and obviously Newsom didn't get recalled, but if he had, then Elder would have been governor since he was first placed in that. And I think his radio show ended last year. So my only guess is that he's trying to get a new radio show, trying to get some buzz for a book deal, just trying to raise his profile and name while he's already in the media. Not really a serious candidate, but the Republican base does seem to like things he has to say. And his presence on numerous shows and in media seems to be popular. So I think that, yeah, he'll raise his profile a little bit, but obviously not going to win the presidency. Next, we have former Wyoming Representative Liz Cheney. I don't even know what to say. I mean, she was absolutely blown out in her Republican primary in Wyoming, one of the deepest red states in the country. Pretty much only Democrats in Wyoming went to vote for her in the Republican primary. She's vocally anti-Trump. I don't even know if 2% of the Republican Party base would vote for her. I have no idea why she would run for president as a Republican. But yeah, just absolutely inexplicable. Next, we have current Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. This is someone who I think is clearly running for a cabinet position, maybe VP. That's kind of stretched though. But I think Francis Suarez is really kind of the mayor peak of the 2024 Republican Party primaries. He is from a politically well-connected family. His cousin is Alex Mooney, who's a representative from West Virginia. He's kind of a rising star in the Republican Party, and I can definitely see him being picked up for a cabinet position like transportation or housing and urban development. I don't think he's really going to get votes, but yeah, definitely doing this to raise his profile and try to keep his name relevant and out there. Next, we have former Vice President Mike Pence. I'm putting him straight in the who cares tier because he's a non-starter in the Republican Party. The evangelical vote has been almost completely locked up by President Trump, especially after Mike Pence refused to go along with Trump's plans to overturn the election when January 6th happened, and Trump explicitly said he is not going to choose Mike Pence again. There's no way that the base votes for him. A fool's errand, in my opinion, for him to run and get in the race. And that's kind of how I feel about our next person, former UN ambassador under Trump and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. She's someone who's kind of waffled on Trump. She's been pro-Trump and anti-Trump. She's very well liked amongst the donor, consultant, and elite class of Republicans. I don't know that she has much organic support. I remember seeing a recent South Carolina poll in which she was far, far behind Trump. So even in her own home state, people don't prefer her to Trump. She's not really going to win. I think she'll probably get a cabinet position, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. I don't think Trump likes her enough to make her VP, but I do think just because she's so well known in the Republican Party and such a star amongst the insiders, they're probably going to make sure he puts her into cabinet. But yeah, no one in the primary process is going to really vote for her, I think. Next, we have former Texas Governor Rick Perry. I don't even know why he's running. He was definitely a very popular governor of Texas. served for 15 years, which I think is a Texas record, actually. But again, no real case to make. I mean, he's Trump's Secretary of Energy, but he's been out of the media for so long. He hasn't really done anything. It's time's up for Rick Perry. I mean, he tried in 2012. He did okay. He tried in 2016. He did even worse. And I don't even know what the point would be of trying now. Next on the list, we have former Illinois Congressman Mike Rogers. Now, when I first saw this guy, I literally had no idea who he was. I follow politics way too much, like obsessively, to an unhealthy degree. And I'd never heard of this guy in my life. So he served in Congress for 14 years. I have no idea what he did. No one knows who he is. No one cares about him. He doesn't have a platform. I don't even know why he was on, but that's just go. And next we have the big man, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. I'm gonna put him in the actually competitive tier. His rollout was kind of a disaster of his campaign. It completely failed. He is a little awkward from what we've seen of his campaigning so far. Trump is attacking him relentlessly. I don't really think he has that big of a shot to win the GOP primary, but I do think he has a better shot than any of these other candidates that aren't Trump, which is why I'm putting him in the actually competitive tier. He still routinely garners about a fifth, 20% of the vote in national primary polls. That is going down. I think if he were to seriously revamp his campaigning style and make some big changes, he could be competitive. I ultimately still think Trump's going to win. Ron DeSantis is definitely the only other person who I think could actually win the primary other than Trump and actually has a shot, which is why I'm putting him in the actually competitive tier. Next, we have South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. I'm putting him in maybe competitive. And the reason I'm putting him above Nikki Haley is because he has more of a value proposition than she does. His value proposition from watching his campaign launch speech is that he's going to be a more faith-based, family-oriented, gentler face that still does standard conservative politics. And I think that that does have an appeal to a certain segment of the base, particularly those that are very religious. I do think those people have largely just gone to Trump, though. But I do think he's an interesting guy. He has an interesting life story. He does speak with conviction. And I think he'll probably be on the VP short list, but I don't really see him going that far. I do see him getting more votes than Nikki Haley, though, which is why I put him a tier above. Next, we have Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Yeah, he's going to go in the who cares tier. He did pretty well in 2016, coming second to Trump. But A, I don't think he's going to run because why would he? He's a staunch Trump supporter these days, and he probably wouldn't want to rock the vote. And B, again, like most of these candidates, it sounds kind of repetitive, but why would they vote for Ted Cruz over Trump? It just doesn't make sense. And so I think, yeah, Ted Cruz is another like who cares candidate. His time has passed. He probably more so needs to focus on his Texas Senate race, which I think is going to be tougher than many people think it will. Next, we have former Roivant Sciences CEO Vivek Ramaswamy. Definitely just running to get his name out there. It's kind of like the Andrew Yang of 2024 Republicans. He does seem to say a lot of things that the Republican base seems to like in terms of his policies and the way he speaks and what he focuses on. But, I mean, really, come on, guys. No one's really going to vote for him. I do think he might get some kind of cabinet position or radio show or some kind of relevant thing in conservative politics. I think we'll definitely see more of him over the coming years. But this is clearly just a run to boost name ID and preparation for maybe another book or something like that. But not really going to be president, but interesting to the base, it seems. Finally, we have former Texas Representative Will Hurd, who I have no idea why he would run. He's anti-Trump. He has no value proposition. No one knows who he is. And like many of these other candidates in the WTF tier, it would be delusional for him to run. So, yeah, with that, we got all the candidates in the primary field tiered up. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time for another video.